guys? Gons here for the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. I wanted to report on this PAPERMAG article. Now, talking about Miley Cyrus and all the Illuminati, mind control kind of stuff is not necessarily my cup of tea. I've done a few videos on that, but this one I really just had to say something. So here it is. Basically, Miley is promoting here this thing she calls the Happy Hippie Foundation, which is a philanthropic venture designed to raise funds and awareness for homeless and LGBT youth. And she's quoted, "We can't keep noticing these kids too late." Well, you know, all that's really interesting that she would lump LGBT youth with homeless. And so I don't exactly know what she's doing to help these people. But what was more concerning is the whole idea of how she's being portrayed and used in the public. Now, she is obviously a role model to a lot of people. You know, she was born in a Christian home and raised Christian, but her path is obviously not towards Jesus Christ. And it says here, Happy Hippie is designed as a corrective to what Cyrus understands as immoral politicking, the sort that pits outliers as pariahs and favors an archaic status quo. The foundation treats at-risk kids with art and animal therapies, two proven balms that have been instrumental in Cyrus's own self-care. Although she was raised Christian, Cyrus maintains a particular contempt for fundamentalist lawmakers who rally against this sort of progressive, potentially life-saving change. Quote, "Those people shouldn't get to make our laws," she said. "Those people, the ones who believe that, say, Noah's Ark was a real seafaring vessel. That's effing insane," she says. "We've outgrown that fairy tale like we've outgrown effing Santa and the Tooth Fairy." Now, you can obviously see the contempt she has for any kind of biblical truths, which is unfortunate, and she's bought into the lie. And the fact that she correlates Christianity with fundamentalist lawmakers, this is a key thing that I think we as a church have failed on, okay, in terms of making everything political. Making it a political issue is sort of the downfall of the American church, in my opinion. I know that 501c3, you can't really say anything about who to elect and all this stuff, but you know stuff is happening. You know that the status quo that Miley Cyrus is referring to is that if you're Christian, you vote Republican. You know, if you're Christian, you vote certain ways, you support certain candidates, etc. That sort of thing is really the fault of Christians, I think, in politicizing their message and not just living out the faith, which is to love God and love others as yourself. That's pretty much what Jesus told us to do. And within those two laws, all of the biblical laws are contained or derived from. So she goes on here and talks about how she loves her parents. You know, she loves her dad and her mom, which she later calls conservative mother effers, which is nice of her to call her parents that. But in any case, the sexuality gender issue is something she brings up. She says, quote, she says she has come to consider her own sexuality, even her own gender identification, fluid. Quote, "I'm literally open to every single thing that is consenting and doesn't involve an animal, and everyone is of age. Everything that's legal, I'm down with. Yo, I'm down with any adult, anyone over the age of 18 who is down to love me," she says. "I don't relate to being a boy or a girl, and I don't have to have my partner relate to boy or girl." She says she had romantic entanglements with women that were just as serious as the ones that ended up in US Weekly. "I've had that," she admits, "but people never really looked at it, and I never brought it into the spotlight." She recalls confessing to her mother at age 14 that she had romantic feeling towards women. Quote, "I remember telling her I admire women in a different way, and she asked me what that meant. I said, I love them. I love them like I love boys," she says. "And it was so hard for her to understand. She didn't want me to be judged, and she didn't want me to go to hell. But she believes in me more than she believes in any God. I just asked for her to accept me, and she has. These days, Cyrus only wants to grant others the same clemency." The article, I'm going to link to it, but just a fair warning, there's nudity and some pretty vulgar images of Miley Cyrus, so just be aware of that. But this is the image that she is promoting here as her sort of thing. Now, first off, you might be philanthropic and helping people, and you know, you have your views and you're radical and you're edgy and whatever, but like, what are you doing, Miley Cyrus? What's the point? I guess it just makes me wonder, how is this not satanic? Like, even if you don't believe in sort of the Christian worldview and all you do is kind of mock it, you know, like, is this artistic expression, or is this obvious signs of Satanism, of MK Ultra, all the things that trickle down from the evil one, she is embodying in so many ways. And this gender issue is just the latest fad, that not identifying with a certain gender is, again, and I've touched on this, is the transhumanist agenda, which ties back to the occult agenda, which stems all the way back to the earliest esoteric writings. And so it's just interesting to me how all of this is converging. And what's sad for me is that people sort of blindly follow this sort of thinking. As influencers of culture, someone like Miley Cyrus is setting the bar, is setting the tone for a lot of young people to follow. And whether she believes it or not, she is pushing a philosophy that is inherently satanic. It's inherently fallen. There's no real redemption. And there's even logical inconsistencies with her own worldview. She wants to be loved and not judged, yet she judges, right? She judges her parents as conservative mother effers. She has contempt for fundamentalist lawmakers. That's judging people. And saying that anyone who believes in, say, Noah's Ark is effing insane. I'm sorry, but that's judging people. It's just logically inconsistent. And if you can't see that, then I can't help you. But anyway, I just wanted to rant about this a little bit because I see this happening more and more. And what we should be really doing is praying for Miley Cyrus to repent. You know, a lot of people have problems with that. When I say stuff like that, when I say we should pray for her, really, we should be treating her with love. The real love, God's love, not lust love that she was talking about earlier. And, but this is really up to God's will, you know. I don't know what God's will is for Miley Cyrus. So, and I can't say that, I'm not him. And I'm actually glad, because it's really hard for me to show grace and mercy to someone like Miley Cyrus. But as a Christian, I know that's what we're supposed to do. You know, it's easy to just call her satanic, evil, witch, you know, whatever. And even if I think that, you know, I don't think that's the way we should be treating her. Like if I ran into her in the street, I'd say, hey, you know, and if I ever got into a deep conversation about stuff with her, I mean, that would be the greatest time to bring up Jesus and, you know, just all the truths contained within Christianity, of real biblical Christianity, not this politicized, you know, right-wing whatever. You know, that's kind of the hope here, is that she starts thinking about things and is able to lock into her own logical inconsistencies with her message and philosophy and everything else. So anyway, just wanted to rant on that, and hope you guys get something out of it. Thanks for watching this video. God bless.